Hi there, how's it going? This is going to be a very long video about how I made my Lord Death slash Shinigami-sama costume. This costume was made for anime Matsuri 2013, which I just got back from yesterday. I'm making this video the day after because I finished Lord Death for the most part at the convention, which is per usual, right? So what you're going to see in this video is pretty much every piece that I had at that convention, how I made it, and what I plan to do in the future for it, because as always, it's never done. However, some things after you do, I'm really sorry about my bird. She's excited now that I'm talking. Anyway, after the convention, after wearing it, what do you think to fix the major problems you feel like? The other things just really aren't a problem. So let's go ahead and start off with this, the mask. Everything was done in 3D, the entire costume, for fitting purposes and for building purposes, because that's how I normally work. And I'm not a big thing, like, really experienced in fabric, so a lot of the fun foam stuff, which is what I usually work with, is a lot better looking than the fabric stuff. So let's go ahead. Mask is made out of 2mm or 3mm, I'm pretty sure it's 2mm white craft foam. But the detailing on it, there is detail on there, is in Sharpie. There's like shading so it looks more like the manga and like around the eyes and stuff, just because that's the way it works. That makes it look pretty. So that was from Pepakura Files, done like that. There's magnets in the back which hold it up to the hat on the head. Hat slash head, I'm not sure. I call it the hat. And this is like his face. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know where Lord Death's head is, if he even has one, really. The back is just fabric. I just hot glued it on around the edges. I actually just laid down the mask on the fabric and was like, but not before I did black Sharpie around the edges as well. And I'm actually, because of all the hot glue, I need to put Sharpie on the hot glue as well. That way it's not quite so shiny around the edges. And that's that. The mask is really easy. I did want to still put, I had originally planned to put anything from cloth to black fun foam in here and then draw in the circles, the little squiggles that are in the gaps in his eyes. That way it's still more of a black abyss that is more representative of what is in the show and the manga. But I haven't done it yet because I had, at the time, I needed access to these magnets on the inside, and the only way I could get in, since the back is glued on, is through the bowling ball holes. So that's pretty much why I left that open the entire convention. And for the time being, I'm actually sort of happy with the weak magnets, because they have not been falling off at all unless the hat is doing something it's not supposed to. So with that, let me go ahead and move on to the hat. Which is my favorite part simply because of the squiggle on top, which is my favorite thing in the entire costume, is this right here. Just a fantastic thing. It's really tall, which can be a problem. Is this the front? That's the front right there. And originally I thought I was going to have to put supports in here because I was like, oh, it's just going to collapse on itself, right? Well, it does somewhat. But I move around enough, and it's actually strong enough that it's not a problem. I'm not really worried about it now after wearing it for the convention, not having problems with this. The real problem actually came with the hat actually collapsing, which I thought might be a problem, but I didn't think, again, as much as the squiggle on top, which is, like, not even straight up and down, right? The problems they had were it was just, it would be like one part would get just flat enough and I would lean back just far enough that it would want to collapse backward on itself. So a lot of the pictures, unfortunately, the hat is sort of like this, and he's sort of like, Lord Death is looking down upon everybody. So I have since then, as of today, stuffed it with foam, which is the same cushiony foam that you use in seats and things like that, that is also in his giant hand. So I've put that in there, and assuming all is well in the future, it will hopefully keep it from falling back upon itself. And if you're wondering how the hat stays on, that's pretty much it. Actually does just sit on my head like this, and I just tie it around my chin. So that's how that works. And again, hopefully all will go well and it won't collapse anymore. It's a little bit heavier now because of all the foam in there, but it's far less likely to like collapse on itself. Like even just bumping it on this stuff, it's like not feeling like it wants to go away. So that's good, that's that. And then I haven't done anything, nothing's keeping this foam in here. These me a little squiggle. Except for the skull cap thing that I put in there, which I had to stuff the foam around. That originally kept it from going down over my head too far. So that's what that is. And of course the magnets are up in the front here for the mask to stay on. Sometimes it can be a pain to find it, but it's centered, so as long as you can find the center. I think, I was going to say, I couldn't have got that in one try. Sometimes you can feel where the magnets are at, sometimes you can't. I'm going to set it down flat and I'll be able to tell where the center is. That might be it right there. Nope, I'm having a little bit of fail. It was easier to put this on when I was in costume. I just reach up and just slap it on. I knew where the center was. Oh, there it is, right there. Alright, so yeah, so the mask, literally there's 3 magnets in there. They're just basic element magnets. And they weren't strong enough for some of the other things. Like I actually wanted the squiggle to be detachable for storage purposes. And nothing was working, so I just glued it straight on, and I'm not worried about it now because the squiggle's been doing great, so I'm not really worried about that. I would recommend gluing that on all the way, just because, especially if you have it springy like mine, all of that moving around, it might just pull it off anyway with the magnets and everything. So the mask, like I said, it stayed on the entire time, except like when the hat would fall forward, because then the weight of it just pulls it off. Or if I turned really fast, if there was like, or wind. We actually went outside a couple times, and the wind would catch it because it's not flush against the hat. So it just catches it and blows it off. And it's just fun foam, so it's fine falling from maybe 6 feet in the air. It's up on top of my head, as you saw. Yeah. So there's that. That's the hat and the face. Let me get those out of the way. Next up is the shoulders and the collar. And consequently, the entire shawl of the upper body, aka Lord Death's chest. So what I had, I basically, I think 2 or 3 weeks before the convention, when I decided, you know what, I'm going to build a costume for this convention, a new one, because I wasn't going to be able to take any of my normal costumes. I normally wear giant robots, and they take up a lot of space and storage. And we were actually already bringing a different robot that I wasn't going to be wearing, but I did help build. And he was the star for the weekend. He got all of Saturday to dress up, and I was like, I'll be Friday and Sunday or whatever, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I actually went ahead. I burned through Soul Eater in like 3 or 4 days. Got all my references and everything, and I was like, you know what, I think I can do this, because since Lord Death actually doesn't have any physical details whatsoever. You guys watched the show, read the manga, he is just black, and he has an outline, he has a shape, and he has a shape, you can see him from different directions, it's a different shape from depending on which direction you're looking at, but there's no defining, like, this is his collar. After staring at everything, I was like, you know what? These 2 shapes, the one, he tends to have 1, 2, and then his shoulder shape. I decided that was a collar shape, and I made it in 3D, and then this one, because it's only he only has 1 bubble on one side and 2 on the other, it just, the other color just sort of goes down into nothing. So that's how that is. That's how I came up with that idea. And that's just fun foam. And it's just glued from the back, and I just went ahead and Sharpied over it so it wasn't as shiny. That was done at the convention. I had all the shapes and everything cut out beforehand, but I had to glue everything together and to fix it to his shoulders at the convention. So I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure, I haven't checked since I've got home, whether or not I've actually glued these on properly. And I'm pretty sure I haven't, just because I'm unhappy with the way that they look, and especially because you can't see the second one very well. You're supposed to be able to see it really well, but you can't. Yeah, so I don't really want to remake it because it works, and I've gotten so many compliments, but it is what it is. Now, as for the shoulders, This is the toughest part of the entire costume. It's made out of foam core, which, if you're not aware, is like poster board with foam in the middle with more poster board on the other side. It's like foam sandwiched between two poster boards. And it's a better alternative to cardboard. It's like the money spending alternative to cardboard, so you don't have any corrugation. However, where I did have to fold it, you had to slice through it, fold it, glue it back in place, you do get to see some corner edges and things like that. I went ahead and I covered it with fabric, and it's glued underneath with any of the things you see on here that happen to be fun foam covered in fabric. It's all fabric over foam method, so you just glue the fabric over it on the back in the generic shape and make sure it's nice and smooth from the front. So that's that. Initially, from the plan in the 3D that I had, I need to actually get my hand over here, it's killing me. There we go, get some support. I had supports going from each side down to my shoulders, and it was attached to my shoulder, and then the hole in the middle here was basically I could move my head around just enough to actually emote with like his hat, like so he'd go, that sort of thing. It turned out better. My head actually fits in the hole pretty well, so that I don't need the shoulder supports. I just put the hat on top. However, I do think I'm going to be adding some more fabric and or fun foam in here, or at least another skull cap, just like I have in the hat, on top of here, just to keep it from sliding down, because I did have an issue, and especially I had an issue where like where the hat was falling back, this too wasn't sitting on my head level. It was sort of sitting backwards like that, which I did not like. Let me go ahead and put this on for you, and then I'll get to the actual like chest cape bit. It's hard because my bed is right above my desk here. And most of this costume I can put on by myself. It's difficult getting the hat, the things that go down to my chin through here, but it is possible. I've done it before. So it's supposed to sit like this. However, during most of the convention it was sitting like this. It got like really like weighted in the back. So in the future I might just do something about that. I need to add a skull cap or something, just keep it level. And it was also going really far down. It was like getting pulled really low, like really tight, which is okay, but it gives me a headache. It's like wig headache when it's too tight. So now while I have this on, let me go ahead and show you this whole gap on down the side. Magnets. There are magnets down here. I designed this hole specifically for the giant hand. This is, it was originally, I'm going to go ahead and take it back off. The entire plan about this costume was I had seen tons of Lord Death costumes, and I wanted to make, I mean, as anything else, you want to make a really good costume. I learned from everybody else's costume. I said, this is what they did right, this is what they did wrong, and I said, this is what I'm going to improve upon. And I said, I need to have a hand that I can tuck up in the chest. That way, anytime I want to, I can just bring it down and out. Unfortunately, the hand, I knew it was going to be a tight fit from the 3D that I did. It's just barely too big, I think, for the most part. I pretty much have to take the hand off and then stuff it in upside down underneath the thing. And then I sort of have, it's like his hands like this and this. I'll show you when I get to it. And it's still, it creates a little bit of a bulge in the cloak. And I think my friends were telling me, because I was asking my handlers, my spotters, how much they could see. And sometimes they could see some at the bottom of the cloak. So, depending on how much I'm squishing the hand at any given time, because it's so squishy, it may or may not be showing in pictures. So let's get back to this. And because of that, most of the time, anytime I was getting stopped for pictures so often anyway, that I pretty much just left the hand out. I just left it at my side, at my bottom, which basically it hangs down to my feet because it's so big. And then I would just pull the magnets back together so it looked pretty, the cloak. And then whenever they wanted a picture, because my arm was tired, I would just pull it back up, close the magnets around it, support my arm, and have the hand up for the Reaper Trap. So that worked out really well regardless, so I still have no regrets about the magnets in the cloak here. And again, I did no sewing. I'm not a fabric person. All of this is hot glued. Even the fabric on fabric is hot glued. You just do the seam pretty, like you were doing a regular fabric sewing thing. I don't have those sorts of materials nor skill to make it as good, so I might as well just hot glue it. Ta-da! And again, with the 3D shapes, I did the same thing with the shapes on the bottom of his cloak. I was like, okay, this general spike shape and size is in this general vicinity, therefore I put it at that specific spot on the thing. I wanted to make sure everything was really consistent and as canon as possible. I wanted it to look as good as possible. So again, with the, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Ever since I put the collar on, it's so much harder to handle. So that's why you have this piece of fabric that goes inward, because his shoulders sort of go out, then they come back in, and then they go back down and flail out into his cloak. So there's that. There was more I wanted to do with this, where at that seam that's at the top there, I wanted to have fun foam in there to give it the specific shape, because the way it hangs down as you would expect, sort of just like an open umbrella shape, and then the fun foam pieces all at the bottom sort of open it out a little bit more. They do a good job of keeping it open, but there is a specific ripple in the cloak that I can't get without having actual fun foam shapes pulling them into the specific like ripple of the cloak. For now, I'm not going to do that because I'm happy enough, and especially because I don't think there were any pictures of the back of the costume, and I need that extra space for the giant hand to stuff up underneath the cloak. So I'm going to leave that as it is for now. Next up, let's do the legs, pants, and dress thing at the bottom of the feet. This one was done almost completely at the convention. A lot of fun. It is pretty much just a dress of sorts, and people ask me, how do you walk in this costume? It's like a kimono. I only have that much room for my feet, and I just shuffle around a lot. Your thighs don't move at all. They're completely like stuck together, and then you just move from the knee down. You just shuffle your feet together. So the dress thing at the base is fun foam, again, covered in fabric. All of the actual spike shapes, though, are just fun foam. I did not cover them because I'm not skilled enough in double wrapping things in fabric that I was confident, and I was just like, let's just leave them fun foam, especially for time's sake. Unfortunately, the one time in my entire life, my 3D model that I used for all of my costume building has failed me as far as sizing goes, and my hips were too big. So we actually had to add a little bit of space here for my hips, an extra fabric piece, because it was not enough. And this is in the back 3/4, and that's the side I always turn away from for pictures. If you do see this costume in pictures, because everything else is attached to my head, I basically turn my body sideways to the camera, and then I just turn my head towards the camera because that just turns the shoulders towards them, and then I bend my knees to get the squiggly shape of his legs. So that's how that works, if you were wondering. As for the spikes on here, because we did them at the convention and my laptop cable is completely gone, I had no 3D references with me. I just had to say, okay, this spike looks really good here, let's just do it. And we ran with that, and I'm just going to say that they're awesome like that. My handler, Velocity, did a great job of helping me get everything on here and giving me aesthetic advice as what to looks good as far as what a character looks like and everything. And she helped me get the squiggly shape across. Looks like this did not glue on all the way, darn it. I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to make it look beautiful. That probably might have actually gotten pulled off as I was walking. So this varied a lot from the original plan. I think there's one more actual spike shape that I found later on that I was like, oh, there's that spike shape that I lost, and I knew exactly where that one went because I knew I had to print it out separately and everything. There was going to be elastic down here by my heels that pulled the legs closer together even more so that it would pull it tight and my ankles would be as skinny as possible. Didn't even want to bother with that, especially with as hard as is walking in this now. Turning around the dress bottom will actually just stay in place, and I can actually sort of twist it tight around my ankles if I actually want to get a tight, like, tighter thing in my legs. Like, if I want to thin out the legs a bit more, I can just twist the dress around and go in circles, do a 360, then start posing for the camera, and it will be tight around my legs. So that's that. And there's just Velcro, and then I just slip down into it, and then we Velcro it back up nice and tight. I can sit down. It's very tight, but I can sit down, and I have had no seams pop, so fantastic. Thank you, Velocity, for all your help. She works a lot more in fabric than I do. And that is pretty much the entire base. There's no point in me putting this on because I'm wearing normal clothes, and it would just not wear right. It would get all bunched up and not wear right at all. So no point in me putting that on, plus you guys wouldn't be able to see it without me moving the camera. And the last time I moved the camera, I had to restart this because my camera stopped working. So I'm just going to leave the webcam up there. Alright, now we're 21 minutes into it and we're almost done. We're getting to some of the best parts, even though it's also some of the worst parts. The hand. Alright, so I started a completely separate video on this. The last video, which you will find in the same topic, my work log about the character from before, when I'm talking about the foam that I have, that I'm using for it, and I show the actual skeleton for the hand. If you want to see what is inside my giant foam hand, check out that video, because it's completely encased now, and until I find a better solution for the hand, I'm not going to be taking the skeleton out. So originally the plan was to have a hand that is actually closable and all that good stuff. I have pulleys inside my hand and everything. Let me go ahead and pull this out for storage. I have pulleys in here with fishing line, and I can reach most of them most of the time. I have to get my finger into it. They're right at the tip of my reach for the sake of that sort of stuff. They help me hold on to it, and Velocity also suggested putting a fun foam handle in here, which I did so even if I can't find the pulleys, I can still hold on to the handle. And sorry, my allergies are acting out. And there's also a fun foam wristlet around here that's tight, that holds my, it basically up and down. It helps support the hand, because this is a lot of weight when you hold it horizontally, if you're like doing like a Reaper chop or a battle pose. If I'm holding it vertically, that's no problem. It's just straight up and down. It's when I start getting into like doing people sideways and stuff. And though the fun foam is held in from the foam core supports, which I did add extra supports from the previous video because these weren't enough. So I have an extra support in there that just holds them at an angle, and it's just nice and tight and strong. Had absolutely no problems at the convention as far as wearing it for the entirety of Sunday. I think I was in that costume for maybe 2 or 3 hours. Actually, probably longer. No, probably 2 or 3 hours for the most. Because Sunday was the day. I finished this Saturday night, and we didn't want to take it out at like 11 o'clock at night. Everybody was probably drunk and all that stuff. There weren't a lot of cosplays that late anyway. So I wore it for several hours on Sunday. This is Velocity's cloth. Thank God. We didn't have enough of my fabric to finish it, and her fabric works a lot better. Originally, I had planned to make it out of the same broadcloth as that. I was just going to have, wrap around like this, and then it would come down into the shape. Let me go ahead and wrap it around for shape to show you guys what it looks like. If my posters don't get in the way. This is a lot easier to do in costume because I don't have all these restrictions as far as space goes. So it goes down from the giant hand shape into the thin wrist shape. That was the same plan, except it was going to be just a long sheath that goes all the way up to my shoulder, so that I wouldn't have anything else in there. And this works just as good because I'm wearing black Under Armour under everything, so you just see a black arm, even if like I take off everything. The only part of me that's exposed is my hand, and I have black gloves, but I just decided not to wear them because the costume is really quite hot in a convention where it's already pretty hot, and you're just basically covering yourself in black fabric in a tent. Even with all of the under part of it being open, there's not a lot of airflow that goes through there. And even with the fabric being as breathable as it is, I was really surprised at how hot it was. So yeah, I took every chance at, like, getting some fresh air as I could. So the only things that I've done since the last video that you would see about this hand is I do have 4 sheets of insulation foam in here, or whatever kind of foam this is, I always forget. Upholstery foam, that's what it is. I do have 4 things of it in here. You can, if you ever come by, you can feel the hand, you can feel the different parts of the foam in there. The 2 inside ones, I have cut out the shape where the skeleton is, so they're not flat like the outside ones. And the inside one here actually has a joint in the middle where the joints are, so you can still bend the fingers. I just don't want to hurt it. You can still bend the fingers, and it's a lot easier now because they have that seam in the middle. The thumb, however, is detached. It was damaged on the way up and it broke anyway, and I knew it was going to probably happen if I didn't finish the hand before I went to the convention anyway, because it had a fairly small joint, like in between the hand base and the actual thumb. So there's still a skeleton in here and you can still fold it. However, I didn't cut out a thing for the thumb there because there's really no reason for me to have the thumb bend. The only reason to do it was like if I wanted to do like a peace sign. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Because I don't have the other 2. Actually, the only handles I have in my hand are the middle one and the pointer. Let's just do this real quick as like a test. See if I can do this. See, I can hold, let's see. That's me holding the thing as far as my finger will hold it down, and it's really tight. So let me let my finger out real quick. So the insulation foam did work, like I said in the original video, as far as pulling it back up, but it works too well because there's 4 sheets of it. It's so hard to bend the fingers and to keep them bent that, I mean, it can do poses, like if you want to do a picture, but most people don't care about that. They just care about the Reaper chop. And so I'm fine with it the way it is. The thumb is, we just glued on the bottom part, and it's fine like that because it gives it a lot of character, I think. I was really not okay with it at first, but I was like, you know what? People like it, and it works because depending on what part of the anime or manga you're looking at, his thumb takes a different shape, and I can't make it different every time. So this works because it actually veers away from my 3D design where I actually had a part of thumb like muscle, like you have a thumb muscle here, just go down and melt into the hand just like a real hand. Because I was like, oh hey, well he's got, like, you know, real anatomy sort of, you know, it's just like a giant glove. And it was complicated shape, and I wasn't going to cut it out of the foam. I was like, we're running out of time. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need a muscle that makes it more realistic. What the heck? So it's just the thumb shape, and it's just glued on at the seam here. Very easy. Yep. And this is just 1 layer of white broadcloth that I originally was going to have a sleeve, just slip it on, but the upholstery foam sticks to everything. You cannot slide anything against this surface. It's like those rubber mats in your car that hold your phone from sliding around when you're turning. Nothing will move on it. Same thing with fabric. I mean, it's hard enough to get the fabric to move. I mean, these fingers would come down together before you put the fabric in between them. But there's all the fabric in between them now, so they slide better. Alright, 9 minutes on a giant hand. I'm still not done talking about it. My hand actually does get really sweaty in here. It's all enclosed air and stuff. My hand's already getting sweaty just holding it up. That's about it. Because I didn't have to get it weapons checked, the guys at Anime Matsuri were really good. I don't know why you would anyway. You cannot feel the skeleton in here. I mean, it's literally like just like that much in there, and the foam is just so squishy. I never hit anything with enough force. I don't think that I could actually get the skeleton to actually be felt. I have Reaper chopped several people with this, and I don't think it even dented the hand, like as far as whacking a surface, right? It just bounced off of their heads. It was really funny. So yes. Overall, I'm really disappointed in the way I covered the hand. It looks horrible, especially all the seams. I'm not sure if you guys can see it from that distance. It looks fine in photos, so I'm happy with it. But for the same reason that you can't see the detail in the head is because you're too far away. But you can see all of the seams because I started it. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to do this thing just like I did with the rest of the cloak and I did with my Reaper conduit, where you get the seam to be all pretty, where everything's on the inside. And I did it wrong. I was so close, and I was like, I got this. And I was like halfway done with the hand when I was still making it a cover. And I was like, I did it wrong, didn't I? And I did. And then about the same time as when I was like, all right, well, let me try and fit this on. And it didn't fit on because we couldn't get it to slide over. And Velocity actually got a lot of them to slide over, so we didn't have to pull all the seams out to pull it all the way down. But from there, I actually just went ahead and put the things in and glued them on the hand. So it's not attached to the hand, but everything is fit specifically to the hand, and it's not as tight as it would have been otherwise, but it's still very good. I cannot thank Velocity enough for all her help on this. Even if I had enough time to work on this before the convention, it probably wouldn't have been done because I wouldn't have known what to do. And I might have just left it at home. Like the giant hand, I might have just left it at home because I wouldn't have known what to do, and then Velocity wouldn't have been able to help me, and I would have been like, no, we wouldn't have a giant hand, oh my gosh. Okay. Alright, so like the skull where I went ahead and I outlined everything in black, I did the same thing with the hand. And there's more details. There's a couple like marks, like scuff marks on the hand I need to add still. And I might add like a thumb shape and then more scuff marks like that because they do that a lot in the show. So there's that. And that is the thing that I had on Sunday that I did not have on Friday. And everybody was asking me about it on Friday. I was like, I'll have it on Sunday. I promise you I will finish it in some form or fashion that it will be viewable for pictures. And we did. I thank you for watching this long video. I hope you learned something from it. If you have any more questions, if there's anything I didn't touch on. Oh, I wanted to show you the giant hand under the cloak real quick. Let me try that. Let me move this out of the way. Not break anything in the process. Get this on. Alright, so how this works, let me see if I can fit through here very closely. There we go. Alright, so how this works is I put the hand in so that the thumb is facing me, so that it's, because it takes up less space, it goes against my body in the gap instead of poking out at the front of the chest. And I try to put the black fabric at the front so you can't see the fingers if they do come out. And I just slide it all the way up to my chin. And I pretty much hold it from the bottom and just hold it up as high as possible in hopes that I'm making sure it's not in photos. And if I do a good job of it, I can usually get the magnets to close. But if I move too much, then I'm taking up too much fabric and they just don't close. See if I can get them close enough. Come on, little fabric. There we go. Alright, so something like that. Piece. And then I can just slide it down and I can actually put my hand in it from there. And then I can whip it back out if I need to wear it. So all in all, I think the costume has benefited, as always, the costume I think has benefited from doing last minute stuff at the convention, because I think that we found better solutions to the actual cosplay itself. Like if I had had a giant sleeve on the hand, it would take a while for me to get in and out of it. This solution here with the fabric that Velocity had, it works fine when I'm wearing the hand. I can have the pieces draped down on the corner, where before I actually had pieces cut out to make the shapes in his elbow. This way it still gives the same effect, and my arm doesn't come out as much as I wanted to give it a long enough arm for his arm, but I think that solution works a lot better with the hand, especially with the arm. And I can just basically, I can drop it off and I can take it off. And originally we actually started tying it around my arm to keep it from down. And after the first time I took it off for a photo, because I was, someone asked me if I could sit, I went ahead, I sat down, and I was like, let me take the hand off, because I think he looks a lot better sitting down without the hand. Why would he have the hand out if he's sitting down? And after that, I just went ahead, and anytime I picked back the arm up, I just swung the thing around my arm once, and I was like, this is good. It's fine. And I'm going to stick with that. I think that that is a really good solution for the arm thing. I don't think it looks completely canon, but I'm happy with the way it functions as a costume. Because it still gives, like I said, it still gives the elbow shape that I wanted to get. He has a little thing, and like he has spikes in his elbow, just like he has on the rest of him, on his legs and stuff. And the spikes, again, they aren't the way I had them set out on the 3D, where I had meticulously said, this spike goes here all the time, this spike goes here in the show all the time. And I'm happy with the way that one is, because just because it was something we did on the fly, and it's just going to be that way for the rest of eternity. So thank you for watching this really long video, 36 minutes. I'm sorry for having it be so long. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or on TransCostumers.com, where I posted this video originally. If you see me, if you have any pictures of me, please link me to them. Feel free to tag me on Facebook. I'm just NatsumeRyu. Same name is on here. You can find either my fan page, which is normally for YouTube gaming and stuff, or you can actually find me. You can tag either one. I don't care. I don't know if you can tag the fan page, but if you find it, you should still be able to find me. They are one and the same. I am NatsumeRyu everywhere. And this is now another one of my favorite costumes. I have received so many positive comments about it. I made so many people happy wearing this costume. My only wish was that if I had found all the other Soul Eater cosplayers that everybody seems to have seen. The only ones I think I got photos with, when I took tons of photos by myself. Everyone was like, Lord Death, can I have a picture? I'm like, totally. But the only ones I actually got to take a picture with was, I finally found a Stein on Sunday when we went down to the dealer hall, which is when I bought this. And yes, I have a picture of Lord Death buying this. I wanted to have a picture of that, so as soon as that's available, I'm totally going to be sharing that. So I found a Stein, and he actually had Death Scythe in Scythe form, which was fantastic, and I think we might have gotten a photo of me holding Death Scythe. And then there was also a Death Scythe in the human slash weapon form, where he has the sleds in his back, just like in the opening video. I saw him on Friday, and I don't think I was in costume when I saw him. Maybe it was on Saturday. But I definitely saw him either on Friday or Saturday, and I don't think I got a picture then. And I was totally like, I don't have the hand yet, but I'm going to have it for Sunday. And again on Sunday, we found him while we were taking the stuff down to the car. He was in the skywalk. And I was like, I'm going to be dressed as Lord Death with the giant hand in just a little while. Please tell me you're staying here. He was gone. We found him in the dealer hall with Stein. After we took pictures with Stein, then we found Death Scythe. And we have a picture of all three of us together, and it looks fantastic. I'm so excited, except for my hat is falling back again. Darn it! The one thing that went wrong with this costume was that the hat kept falling back, and I'm so disappointed with that, and I hope more pictures show up where they're straight up and down. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Goodbye!